Welcome to Van Lathan's The Red Pill, where we give you the brutal reality of truth. Today's guest is Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock is a firebrand, the host of Speak for Yourself on FS1, and a man whose political ideology, beliefs, and sort of musings have long drawn my ire. And if we're being honest, the ire of a lot of black people in the media space and black people everywhere, because it seems to us that sometimes Jason Whitlock comes across as an attack dog for the people that are at cross purposes with social and political advancement. We talked, Jason and I did on the podcast, about the reasons why he seems to be trying to single-handedly undermine the efforts of Colin Kaepernick and of guys like Lebron James. We also talked about his worldview and where he got it from. There has been some talk as to why we would have Jason Whitlock on the Red Pill. And I will speak to that right now. The Red Pill is not an echo chamber. It's a place where people of dissenting viewpoints can come and speak and talk, no matter how offensive they are to to me or some of our listeners, as long as they do so in a respectful manner. Now, there are some people that would not be welcome here, but I thought it was important to have Jason Whitlock on the podcast. This podcast was recorded last week, and since then, there's been unbelievably seismic news in the culture. Colin Kaepernick has become the face of the Nike Just Do It campaign. It's a big deal for Colin Kaepernick. It's a way for Kaepernick to get his Know Your Rights camps funded, which Nike has agreed to do as part of this deal. And it's a way for him to continue in the spotlight to push his message of social activism and of people standing up for their rights, no matter where they may be. Jason Whitlock, who was on this podcast, and you're about to hear that interview, went on his Twitter and tweeted the following message. Told y'all from day one, this has always been about money. All of it. Revolutionaries aren't sponsored by major corporation. It's been a hustle from the giddy up. So this is the reason why he was on the podcast. The reason why he was on the podcast is because I have to understand the mentality of someone who would take something that so many of us see as a positive development for someone who is putting their safety, their economic viability, and their reputation on the line. Why Whitlock would find fault with that. Why he would find fault with a black man that is trying to educate black youth, with a black man that is trying to cut down recidivism, with someone who's taken such a brave stance in the face of such big odds when you talk about the NFL. What's the point? Why is he seemingly against people who are so for everything that he says he is for? We talked about it for a long time. I pressed him. He pressed me. Here's the interview. Jason Whitlock, welcome to the Red Pill, man.
Good to be here. Seriously, honored to be here. Glad you invited me.
Yeah. We got a lot to talk about, man.
We do.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. We don't know each other, but I've actually had some Twitter interactions with you. I'm sure you have so many Twitter actions that you don't remember.
No.
The ones that we have. I would imagine so. But I'm going to get right to the point with you because I actually talked to my little brother, who is the smartest dumb nigga I know. And he said to me, oh, by the way, I saw the look on your face. We get a little raw here on the Red Pill.
I'm not a big fan of the N-word, even when we use it. It's
No,
a word I don't try to use. I find it disrespectful. But
yeah, I said it to trigger you. Yeah. I know. I saw the thing you just said about LeBron. I said it to trigger you. But he wanted me to just ask you one question, and I'll ask that question right now. What's with you?
What's with me?
What's with Jason Whitlock?
What is with Jason Whitlock? I'm not sure exactly what his question is, but I would say if your brother is, how young is he?
He's 26.
Yeah, 26. So he's a millennial, and he's probably, I would imagine, I don't want to speculate, make any assumptions. Is he big on social media?
He is not big on social media, but
No, I'm talking about, is he involved in social media?
No. He's not involved in social media.
He's not on Twitter?
Not on Twitter, not on Instagram.
Then what's his understanding of me? He watches my show?
Watches on, sees you on television.
Okay. I just come at things from a very genuine perspective in terms of the way that I was raised, and in terms of the values that my family and my parents instilled in me, and that the things that have made me successful instilled in me. And those things would be my two parents. And then it would be religion, the things that 25th Street Baptist Church, my grandmother, placed in me. And then I think the third thing would be football. And so those are the values I was raised with. My parents' work ethic, my parents' point of view and perspective on life. I would say I'm a combination of my father, mother, and grandmother. Mama love you the most. So my father was somebody that didn't graduate high school, joined the Army, kind of got his life together during those 2 years he was in the Army, and then came back and took a factory job, I believe at Chrysler, and he's reading the book Malcolm X on his lunch break, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and his supervisor and some coworkers complained. And my father was like, ain't nobody gonna tell me what kind of book I can read. This is crazy. I need to be in business for myself so I can be my own boss. I don't want anybody dictating my point of view. And my father became a small businessman in the black community for the rest of his life. He started with a barbershop, then a bar. And those are the two places I grew up and remember the most, his bar and his barbershop in the inner city. And then when my parents divorced, my mother was just a factory worker with two boys, me and my brother. And we're living in the hood, and our apartment got broken into, and my mother took a second job and moved us out to a working class suburb. And then the other key thing is just my grandmother introducing me to 25th Street Baptist Church and instilling those values in me. And so I'm a reflection of that. And that's probably what's with me. I think a lot of the millennials have a disconnect with me from the outside because the younger generation isn't as influenced by the church as I am. And then a lot of young people young people seem to have a problem with masculinity and football and what people are labeling toxic masculinity. I'm just an old school dude that is a reflection of my parents, my grandmother, and my church.
So you said that your father was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X. Did he ever share with you any of the lessons that he learned in that book, or did he speak to you about that book specifically?
Yeah, we talked about it a great deal. I mean, the autobiography of Malcolm X is probably a book I've read 6 times myself. Probably the first time when I was in 8th or 9th grade. I remember when I moved in with my father my senior year of high school, I read the book again. And again, I probably read the book 6 times, shared it with all my family members, big fan, read Roots, beginning to end and all that. So yeah, I many of the things that I believe, I think are a direct reflection of Malcolm X.
Of Malcolm X.
Without question. And
interesting. You think Malcolm X, if you were alive today, would be a fan of Jason Whitlock?
I'm not sure what he would be a fan of, so I can't speculate on that. I can't speak for another man. I can't speak for
what I'm essentially getting at is, what lessons from Malcolm X do you feel like you adhere to?
Mostly that any issues that I have as a person, I'm going to try to address them myself. And so I would, from the tone of your questions, I would question whether you have an understanding of Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, what they really believe. They weren't an organization that believed in white people correcting their problem. They were an organization.
How does the tone of my questions insinuate that I believe in white people correcting black people's problems?
I think you have a tone that suggests that somehow Malcolm X or the values that I'm expressing and the things you see from me, a person that believes like any problem we have as African Americans, any problem I have, the first person I need to start with is me, and then then look to us for solutions. And there's an inference that somehow the things I believe, the things that I espouse, are totally devoid from anything that Malcolm X.
I didn't say totally devoid.
Yeah.
This, first of all, in terms of my understanding of the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan,
it's Elijah Muhammad's organization.
No. Elijah Muhammad obviously started the Nation of Islam, but Minister Farrakhan is the beacon of light, the guy who is the mouthpiece and the spokesman for the nation today. As far as what I understand, they preach self-sufficiency, responsibility, community responsibility. They teach investing into the women in your community. They teach a bunch of things that the black community for a long time has needed to hear. And I greatly embrace all of those things. If you've ever listened to the Red Pill podcast here, what we talk about is complete reliance on your own. While I believe that black people should invest into themselves and into their community, and that way we can build systems that will empower us and help us get across some of these hurdles. I'm interested to hear you say that. The reason why I'm interested to hear you say that is because I think you have specific problems or beefs with people who I see trying to achieve those ends. I think that you have a specific agenda against guys like LeBron James, against guys like Colin Kaepernick, against guys like that I see you. The reason why I asked you what you think Malcolm X would say about you is because I know one thing he wouldn't be a fan of is you attacking people that seem to be working for the good of black Americans. Where am I wrong?
Well, I think you're wrong in making any assumptions that you know what Malcolm X believes. That would be a mistake. You've never met him. You don't know him. It's wrong to make an assumption. I think number two, if you have an understanding of Malcolm X, the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X had no problem attacking Martin Luther King.
Yeah, he didn't.
Had no problem. So he did attack black people. And if you've ever... I went to the Million Man March. I've been to Savior's Day.
He attacked black people who he felt like were working at cross purposes to what he was working towards. And what you just said, what you just described, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like LeBron James is not at cross purposes with you. I feel like a guy like real quick, so I can finish my point. Yep. I feel like a guy like LeBron James is teaching self-sufficiency, is investing back into his community, is doing all of these things himself and not really relying on anybody else to do it. Once again, like, where am I wrong? I think that's in line with what you just said.
I think that you can find no proof of me criticizing LeBron James for being involved with the starting of a school, empowering Maverick Carter, Rich Paul, investing in young people in Africa, in Akron. All you can find, if you want to go look on the show, anything I've ever written, is me praising those things. But LeBron James is just like me, flawed, and makes mistakes. And my job is a critic. And there used to be a time when people used to be allowed to be critics. And instead, it's like, oh, well, if someone does these things you agree with, you can't comment on any of the things you disagree with. And I just reject that. My job, I'm a trained journalist. I'm a journalist. I'm a critic. My mother walks on water to me. Greatest mother there's ever been. She will tell you, I've criticized her.
Sure.
And she's my mother. And she's complained about some of and trust, she thinks I walk on water.
Right.
She criticizes me constantly. My father, who more than any man that's ever walked the planet, loved me the most. Very highly critical.
My
of
dad
me.
too.
Highly critical.
Yeah.
And so sometimes criticism can be an expression of love. And you criticize.
So you love LeBron James?
Without question.
Okay. So if you love LeBron James, because to me, I'll be honest with you, even in some of the things that you talked about the I Promise School when you were talking about LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. And it seemed to me that I didn't hear an outpouring of love over the I Promise School. I heard, well, rather than praise LeBron or give props to LeBron for what it is that he's attempting to do. Let's take a wait and see approach to see how things go with the school. Let's do this, let's do that. I think the very initiative of the school and the fact that his mind is there is, number one, worth praising. Number two, LeBron James made an equality commercial. He made a commercial about promoting equality. You found fault with that.
Yeah, because I find a lot of slogans and T-shirts and a lot of that, I just find it to be BS. Mm-hmm. It's slow. It's empty calories.
But you're being intellectually dishonest if you say, yo, I love LeBron James on these things, but then he makes a commercial with undoubtedly positive message, and you decide to. So equality is a negative
as a slogan. I believe it in practice and in principle in doing.
Right.
But as a slogan, I think it's a lot of BS. I think it's Nike making money. Mm-hmm. I don't find when you start turning a movement into a marketing campaign and the selling of shoes, that's where I'm at. Like, hold on. Are we really about the movement, or is this about promoting the Nike brand and selling shoes?
But what if you're LeBron James and you say, that's a little cynical, because what if you're LeBron James and you say, listen, I can sell shoes for you, I can sell hats for you, I can sell apparel for you. What I also want to do is make sure that there's a message in all of this too. Because LeBron James doesn't have to do that. He can cash checks for Nike for the rest of his life. So what I don't understand is, why do somersaults to find fault with something like that with somebody that you say that you love?
I'm not doing something because, first of all, it's like my mother is dependent upon me financially. At the last 10 years of his life, my father was dependent upon me, and I provided quite well. Still highly critical of me. My mother right now, I'm gonna call her when this is over, and trust she'll probably have some complaint about today's show, something that I'm not doing right. So this thing of the media has moved into this space of, I love somebody, therefore I don't criticize anything they do. I don't point out anything that they do that I think may be an error. It's just something I reject. That's not love. And that's not the way your parents loved you. And it's not the way you love your parents. And so I think what I'm trying to have is your brother's 26. And a lot of the people, young people, I'm trying to have a discussion that's on a higher level than perhaps they're prepared to actually engage in.
In terms of what?
I'm giving you an example. In terms of, I think this equality thing with Nike is really a business ploy. It's not really authentic. It's not about the movement. It's not about equality. It's a slogan.
But you said, so do you think that LeBron James is inauthentic when he says equality?
No, I think LeBron James is a spokesman.
So then, if LeBron is the one pushing the message, and other people are pushing the message, how could it be inauthentic? If Nike, if you can empower Nike to sell shoes, why can't you empower Nike or anyone else to sell what you hope people get about you?
You can, but again, when Nike starts talking about equality, and we know where their shoes are made, and we know what they're paying the people to make the shoes, and we know how those people are being exploited. I mean, let's be real here. Nike's a business,
right?
Nike is not the NAACP. They're not a church. And again, all churches and NAACP all have flaws.
Right.
Institutions built on proper things and good things and positive things. All, we don't even have to go into the Catholic Church. So institutions and individuals can all get swept up in things they don't fully understand and don't fully comprehend how they're being used and perhaps manipulated. And so just for me, when you start mixing the movement for equality with business, I think that's a red flag being raised, and I'm gonna raise my hand and say, man, I don't know if that's what. That doesn't ring true to me.
Gotcha. What your issue, if I remember it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that in some way LeBron James couldn't understand equality, but that his athletic talent in some way made it he couldn't talk about equality because he was such a fantastic athlete, because he had all of these things. You said that, because I don't remember the criticism being about what Nike does in sweatshops. By the way, all of that stuff, like all of those different things are completely valid observations in terms of whether or not a global corporation cares about equality.
Right.
So, but I remember your criticism being that LeBron James talking about equality was hollow because he's not equal to us.
No, I think you're taking.
What did you say?
Mixed conversation. I've said a lot.
But tell me what you said was that
I've said a lot about LeBron James,
but
I've
specifically to this issue though.
A lot, and at different times, and you can piece them together and blah blah blah. And we're going on memory here, which is kind of an unfair given how I've been at this since 1990.
Hey, just real quick, we'll let Justin. Somebody find that. Jason, find what he said, so because we don't want to go on memories. Somebody find that, but go ahead.
And so, what I'll say then, if I went through my entire body of work of things I've said about LeBron, and if I remember, this may have been a day that I did a 3-hour show filling in for Cowherd that I had this discussion. So there's 3 hours worth of content, and so, but I'm representing to you right now. And we can play the I Got You game. I can find this clip where you said this and blah blah.
No,
blah.
I'm not saying the Got You game. I'm just trying to make sure the conversation stays consistent.
Right, but I'm telling you right now what I believe and where all my comments are coming from.
Sure.
I don't like the mixing. When you start taking the movement and mixing it with business, you've moved into, since we can be frank here, we've moved into bullshit, in my opinion. And so that's where, if I may not have said it all there or said it that, but that's where all my criticism is coming from. And then as it relates to LeBron.
But that's a criticism of Nike and not of LeBron James.
I agree, but I'm about to tell you what the thing I'm trying to explain to you young people that have put LeBron on a pedestal as an activist that I think is unearned. And that would be LeBron as a basketball player, I get it. But LeBron as an activist, I think there's a misunderstanding of Muhammad Ali because he keeps getting analogized to Muhammad Ali. And I don't think people understand that Muhammad Ali was controlled by Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam, and he was standing on religious principles. He was a lightning rod and a spokesman for their organization.
Right.
And LeBron James, I don't know the religious organization that he's representing.
He doesn't. I think he's representing his community the way he saw himself growing up and what he's trying to do. First of all, the one point that I will agree with you is there's no reason to have a historical Mandingo fight between Muhammad Ali and LeBron James. Muhammad Ali was a man for his times. His times demanded who he was in a lot of ways, and he rose to the occasion in a way that not a lot of people will ever get the opportunity to, because not a lot of people are Ali, and not a lot of people are in those times. LeBron James is someone who comes from an underprivileged background, who knows intimately these sort of pitfalls and the challenges of growing up in that, and is trying to eliminate them for other kids like him. To me, the notion of doing that, when we've seen a generation of athletes who didn't really seem to be as concerned about doing it in a public way that inspires other people to do it, the notion of doing that, it doesn't make LeBron James the greatest activist of all time, but why would we fucking try to poke holes in it?
Because I think, in my view, there's a different role for LeBron James and the modern day athlete. Rather than trying to be the intellectual backbone or the spokesman, that era is past. Now that they are these major financial institutions and businesses, their role is more financial than being the front spokesperson. They need to operate like other millionaires and billionaires do, and actually finance experts in the field to represent their views. What I'm arguing is LeBron's out over his skis trying to be the intellectual backbone of any movement.
Jason, you're depowering him.
It's an opinion.
Yeah, I get it, but if you're wondering why you're depowering him, you're using the platform that you have to look at a guy and you're saying, okay, so you're not doing it right. First of all, it's a lot of people who aren't doing anything. It's a lot of people who are doing things that are negative, and you're saying you're not doing something the way Jason Whitlock would do it. So because of that, I'm going to use a platform that I have on the Daily Show to kind of stick needles in you. How does that get the community of Akron, which is definitely going to benefit from what LeBron James is doing?
Perhaps.
How does that get that community you poking holes in the guy that's trying to help them, how does that help them?
Because perhaps he might go about it a different way. You can have great intentions and look, it's no different than I go to the gym. And I've had trainers say, hey, dog, you can kill yourself here in the gym, but if you don't change your diet, ain't nothing going to work.
Right.
And I can ignore what they're saying and say, and why come you criticize me? I'm here at the gym. Don't criticize me. They're actually just trying to give me some good. Get your ass out of the gym.
What if there was somebody constantly telling you how whack your trainer was? You'd be less apt to listen to him. And now the voice, the message that you're trying to get from him is resonating with you less because there's some guy who says that he loves and agrees with your trainer, but for some reason is finding different things about him to find fault and erode the trust that you would have in him. So every time that you do that,
perhaps you're disempowering me, and perhaps your brother is, and perhaps Charlamagne the God.
And all of those guys. Charlamagne the God's my brother as well. Right. Though the people that you say are disempowering you are doing it because we think that it's necessary.
I get it. And so just remember, this is America, and I get to be just as grown up as you,
without a doubt.
And so if I think it's necessary to point out where I think LeBron James is going wrong, I have just as much right to do that as you do to disempower me.
Without a doubt. Let's move on to Colin Kaepernick. We'll come back to LeBron and to the shop and to your specific questions, your issues with the show, The Shop, which I knew once when the show came on that I could turn to you and you would have something negative to say. But like, what's your issue with Colin Kaepernick? What's your problem with Cap? You've been pretty critical of him as well.
It's all over my Twitter. If you go back to when he was playing, biggest Colin Kaepernick homer fan there was
on the football field.
And then when Colin Kaepernick decided that he lost his starting job and he's going to take a knee to protest inequality, I think it's BS. I don't think that's what it was about. I think he was upset about losing his job. I think Colin Kaepernick.
That's a lie.
Well, in your opinion,
no, because prior to Colin Kaepernick losing his starting job, there was definitely a point where Colin Kaepernick was less active politically. If you check social media with Colin Kaepernick, if you know Colin Kaepernick's off the field stance and stuff like that, prior to him losing a starting job, prior to any of that stuff, Colin Kaepernick had started to be more outspoken on his social media about things. People that follow him were not at all surprised that he took a knee. That narrative that you just said is a made-up, spun narrative. That's just simply not true. If you follow Colin Kaepernick and you've been following him, as a matter of fact, I remember having a conversation while Colin Kaepernick was still starting, albeit struggling. I remember having a conversation with someone going, "Yo, what's up with Colin Kaepernick? Like, he is all of a sudden really militant." That predates him losing a starting job. That's a true fact. So the notion that Colin Kaepernick in any way, and understand how destructive that is, the notion that in any way this had to do with anything that wasn't genuine to him, Jason, is just not true.
But I just want you to understand, Van, your brother, yourself, Charlamagne the God, y'all have all kinds of assumptions about where I'm coming from, and it's all fair. I'm not pushing. You can have those assumptions. You can disparage my character and all my motives. You're good with
not
that.
Your character, brother. Your opinions.
I got it. You're good,
Jason. You might be a very good man. I don't have any reason to believe anything else.
I'm misguided. I'm this, blah, blah, whatever. It can all be said about me. But if anybody questions Colin Kaepernick, all hell's breaking loose. And Van, as much as you think you might know about Colin Kaepernick, I believe between us, I know far more.
You're telling me that I don't know anything about Colin Kaepernick?
I'm not saying you don't know anything. I'm not saying you don't know anything about it.
Right.
I'm not saying that you know nothing. But as much as you think you know, I believe I know more. I'm not going to go all off into it. I know.
That's something that people will typically do when they really don't have a leg to stand on. You're going to tell me you know more about Colin Kaepernick
it's not
than me?
Fair. It's not fair because, again, I'm going to just go back. Biggest Colin Kaepernick fan there when he was playing.
Okay.
New people on the coaching staff. And it's just not. It's not fair. It's not really that. I'm just not going to be that unfair to him to get in anybody things that I haven't reported in the newspaper and things like that. I'm not going there.
Okay, then we probably shouldn't bring it up on the podcast. So let me ask you this: Do you think that it's all interesting that it's interesting at all? Is it interesting at all to you that you are a fan of Colin Kaepernick while he was on the football field doing the stuff that he was doing, but as soon as he took a stand about racial injustice, then all of a sudden you flipped on him? All right, before Jason answers that, we're going to pause for a second, pay some bills. People always ask me for advice. I watch a lot of college football. I know how the ball is going to bounce. That's my thing. Usually when they ask me for advice, it's what team to bet on this week. Had it been this past week, I'd have told you to bet heavy on those LSU Fighting Tigers that took care of the Miami Hurricanes down in Dallas. It was what we like to call in Baton Rouge a shellacking. The truth is, though, I don't always know who's going to win. I got to be real. Sometimes I'm just going with my gut. But if you think you know, you got to check out my bookie. You got to trust me. These guys are your best bet this season. They've been in business for years, have unbelievably great reviews online, and their mobile site is super easy to use. Not to mention they have in-game live betting and the most rewarding player perks in the entire business. Plus, for you fantasy guys out there, you can even bet the over-under on how many points a fantasy player is going to score each game. That's some hardcore betting right there. So lay down some cash and win big today. You win, they pay. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit dollar for dollar. Use the promo code PILL when creating your account to claim up to $1,000 in free pay. That's MyBookie. And don't forget to use the promo code PILL when creating your account to claim the bonus. You play, you win, you get paid. Now let's get back to Whitlock.
I got no problem with guys taking a stand against social injustice, things like that. My point was, if I have a problem with the police, I'm going to take it to their job. Mm-hmm. I'm going to protest at their jobs. I'm going to make things uncomfortable for them. Mm-hmm. I think that a handful of black NFL players haven't figured out what NBA players have figured out. We're not going to mess up our job, our industry. Football and the NFL has created more black millionaires than any other industry, hands down. More than rap by a long mile. More, it's the best industry for black men. I don't believe in making a mess there. That's why LeBron James and NBA players aren't going to make a mess in the NBA. They've been they're not taking a knee.
They're also not going to make a mess because two reasons. Number one, the NBA dealt with this issue a long time ago. And number two, the NBA is far more progressive in terms of ownership and in terms of support for their players in these particular issues than the NFL is.
I think that's a myth. Mm-hmm. And I think people love saying that, and I think it's a talking point that is Twitter deep. I don't think it's bared out by the truth and facts. The NFL has ponied up $90 million ownership to Malcolm Jenkins and the Players Coalition. The NBA has no such counter. The NBA's had problems with Donald Sterling. They've had problems with James Dolan in terms of his treatment of Charles Oakley. They've had problems.
You felt like that was a racial issue?
I feel like if it had happened in the NFL, it would be spun as a racial issue.
Interesting. So,
having known,
do you think that it's a racial issue?
No,
in order to make that point
because I know James Dolan, and I know
because that had nothing to do with race.
I know all the people that he's empowered, employed, friends of mine, and so no, I don't go there. I don't. But trust me on this: if it had happened in the NFL, it wouldn't matter. The media would have spun it racial because there is an attack on the NFL because the people that actually understand one of the greatest institutions and friends to black men has been football, has been this thing we've labeled toxic masculinity. There are guys that, like me, that never played a drop in the NFL that have benefited from football.
Played Ball State, right?
Played at Ball State. But again, me and my father, my senior year of high school, we in a one-bedroom, 400-square-foot apartment in the ghetto. My father makes $200 a week bartending at his friend's bar. there was only one thing that was getting me out of the ghetto and onto a college campus, and that was football. And there's thousands upon thousands of black men just like me who have had their lives changed by football without ever getting a drop of the NFL. And I see football as being under attack, and I see Kaepernick as an unwitting tool in the attack on football. It's crazy for us as black men to damage the game of football when it has transferred so much financial wealth, influence, and power. It's the most powerful thing in pop culture. The number one show on 5 different TV shows. It was never intended to be dominated by 70% African-American employee base. This is all unintentional.
Employee base.
Employee base.
Employee base.
It's never, we out here in Hollywood, Van. You think 70% of the guys you finna step outside this door with are black?
Hey, 7% of them.
Thank you.
Right.
And so we're going to shred the NFL for a 70% employee base, but Harvey and TMZ, we're going to look the other way.
How do we look the other way? I'm here because I'm here. Ain't nobody looking the other way or nothing.
I'm just saying, we raising hell with NFL owners and we calling them every name in the book, and we good with it.
This is my problem with the NFL. I'll go back for a second. Number one, I think the NBA's response to Donald Sterling when Donald Sterling was outed was very telling. Donald Sterling was out of the NBA.
Donald Sterling acted an ass for 20-some-odd years.
Until for 20 years, for 20 years he was doing what he was doing when it was made public that Donald Sterling was a racist. Donald Sterling was out.
There was the discrimination suits against his real estate. Everybody knew about Donald Sterling for 20 years.
I didn't know.
Well, it was in the media. The stories have been told.
So wait a second. So we'll go back to something else. The problem with the NFL, the reason why people have an issue with the NFL is because of the way they reacted to the Colin Kaepernick situation. It's because of the way it has nothing to do. I had no thoughts about the NFL being a racist organization until the NFL showed me that they were a racist organization. There's a way to lean into the concerns of your employees. Forget about whether or not that like though you agree with them or not. There's a way to lean into the concerns of your employees, especially guys who have these types of platforms, that shows that you care about them, that shows that they matter to you, that also show that in some way they have merit without completely trying to depower them and also sort of put them out to pasture. To me, the way the NFL, the problem with it is in the fact that the owners, rather than listening and having any meaningful dialogue on this, close ranks, close out, and now what we have is a problem. Now, football isn't under attack because of because it's not warranted. Football is under attack because football showed a bunch of people what football really is all about.
And so when David Stern basically kicked Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf out of the league, Craig Hodges blackballed out of the league. That's been written and talked about and discussed.
I was a baby. So
the world didn't start with you, Van.
So I get it, but my point
world didn't start with you.
My point is this. I'm 38 now, and so being that I'm 38, what my job is, or what I feel like my job is, like what you feel your job is all of the people that were silent on Craig Hodges, all the people that were silent on Mahmoud, shout out to LSU, Baton Rouge, all the people that were silent on that, those people have to deal with that. That's on them. What I'm not going to do is be here today and see something happen and be silent on that. So those situations that you're talking about that happened in generations prior, I know what you're talking about. Craig Hodges went to the White House and used his visit to the White House to present his gripes to the president at that time. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf was actually the first person to take a stand on the anthem. Once again, shout out to LSU, one of our greatest players ever. Those men lost. We could go all the way back to guys like Kurt Flood that really had nothing to do with race, but had to do with different situations and standing up for players' rights. Everyone that failed Kurt Flood or Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf or any of those guys, that's them. Now, I'm not going to be complicit in watching things like that. That has to do with our generation. And I'm wondering why, forget about whether or not you feel like the NFL should be disintegrated, because we're going to have a discussion and a lot of people aren't going to agree with that at all. why do you feel the need once again to poke holes in what and Kaepernick?
Because I completely disagree with where Kaepernick is doing his protest. Do it at police headquarters, City Hall. Hold the people accountable who actually empower the police. That's the smart thing to do. Get your money. Use your money to finance the causes you believe in.
He hasn't been doing that?
He's not getting his money. He could be getting more.
Forget about him getting his money. Has Colin Kaepernick, because a lot of people are going to talk about.
He has.
I think, but I haven't heard you like. As a matter of fact,
I see it as a marketing ploy.
As a matter of fact, you once accused us at TMZ Sports of running a PR story about Colin Kaepernick, having it fed from his people. I didn't even know Cap at that point. I saw that on social media, and then I put it on the site. And you said that Colin Kaepernick's PR was working overtime.
Yeah, I see it as a PR move. Yeah,
he was trying to get a plane over to Africa.
Got it.
So how's it a PR move?
Because, Van, I don't know if you, and again, I come from a different point of view. A lot of people do a lot of good things without putting it out over social media.
He needed that. He was trying to get people to sponsor. He was trying to raise awareness for it so he could get it done. But rather than actually
Colin Kaepernick has promoted every piece of charity he's done since he got booted out of the NFL. There are a lot of people that do a lot of good in silence without looking for the glory and for people like you to go, oh, look how great this person is.
Why do you assume that he's looking for the glory?
Because that's what Colin Kaepernick has done since the moment he's entered the NFL. He's been a hey, look at me guy. I used to love it when he was going as a quarterback. Loved it.
So you loved
the whole kissing the biceps and all that.
So once again, you loved him as a hey, look at me guy when it was about football. But if he's a hey, look at me guy about advancing the rights of disenfranchised people, if he's a hey, look at me guy, if he's saying, hey, look at me, it's not about scoring touchdowns, it's not about that. If it's hey, look at me while he's out there actually doing work on people's behalf, that's where you draw the line, Jason Whitlock.
Because I think it's all mixing of the movement and charitable work with business.
But he's not having any business. He's not making any money off this.
I think Colin Kaepernick, when he started this, he thought he was getting back in the NFL. You're looking at it's a moving target, and all the motivation.
He opted out of his contract.
I get it, but you think he didn't think the next year? He thought the year that he played, he had to opt out so he could get on the field. It was an injury protection situation. If he didn't opt out of that contract and give San Francisco leverage, they were afraid he would get hurt, and then they would be on the hook for his contract the next year. He had to make that move in order to get on the field and play games. Let me finish.
Yeah, sure.
And play games. He thought he was going to have this marvelous 13, 14, 15, 16 game run and then be in position the next year to get a better contract. He never thought the NFL would say, bye, Felicia. Never thought. Everything since then has been reaction to like, oh, my God, they're not going to let me back in. What can I do to continue to put pressure on the NFL, start a campaign to get people all upset?
The campaign was started the year that the campaign was started while he was still playing. The campaign, that's for sure. The campaign that Colin Kaepernick started for the $1 million was something that was not done when he was out of the league. It's something that he announced while he was still playing. It's something because people were telling him, yo, put your money where your mouth is. Don't just be a talker. That was done while Colin Kaepernick was still an active NFL player. Jason, I don't need you to look that up. That's a fact. So once again, what you're doing is you're taking someone who I feel like, for whatever reason, is working for the greater good, and you seem to be intent on poking holes in it. And I'm just wondering why.
Because I think he's making a mistake, because I think he should take his protest to City Hall and not the NFL, not an industry where we have reached a level of importance and financial gain for black men. I don't want football and the NFL damaged. I don't want some.
Was he trying to damage the NFL?
No, he wasn't. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So then why would you blame him for trying? Why are you saying why would you? He wasn't trying to damage the NFL. He wasn't. He never said. Colin Kaepernick never said fuck football. Football's racist or anything like that. He knelt. And the NFL made a decision, and then on behalf of Colin Kaepernick, people were like, wow, wait, hold on for a second. I get that we don't agree with this. I get that we don't agree with it, but for them to act like this, what are they thinking? So Colin Kaepernick never sat out at all to destroy the NFL, to rip the fabric out of the NFL, or to disrespect the shield. He was doing the same thing.
And my position is he's a pawn in a game he doesn't understand. He's being used by people that want to destroy the NFL. They think the NFL is the head of the snake in terms of toxic masculinity. They want to bring the NFL down.
Who are these people?
The left.
The left.
The left.
So the left wants to destroy the NFL, and they're using Colin Kaepernick.
The left wants to clearly destroy toxic masculinity.
And they want to destroy the NFL.
The NFL is the number one show on 5 television networks, which makes it the most powerful force in pop culture, which makes it the most powerful symbol of toxic masculinity. The NFL, when it was invented, and all the way up through the 50s, 60s, no one ever imagined that the NFL would become the greatest thing in pop culture and the stars of the NFL would be 70% black. We as black men are in a position that was never intended.
Right.
And people are out to stop it. And Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't know it. He doesn't realize it because he's so caught up in everything the left and the liberals tell him is all the greatest thing in the world. So now he doesn't know it, but he's a pawn in that game.
Do you understand how disrespectful that is? You're saying that Colin Kaepernick isn't even responsible for his own thoughts. Do you think that Colin Kaepernick is perhaps smart enough to know exactly what he's doing? Why won't
he might? He might. Then I really disagree with him there.
So, but what I'm saying is, once again, Cap not trying to destroy the NFL. Cap had a demonstration, sat down, spoke with the military guy, then took his knee. So it seems like at least Colin Kaepernick is willing to have conversations with people that feel disrespected about things. Colin Kaepernick is willing to engage and to give way on this. What I'm wondering, once again, I'm not going to ask the question again, but I'm wondering, there are kids all over the place that Colin Kaepernick is going to them doing Know Your Rights camp. So they know your rights camps, so they have better interactions with the police and so that they know their rights. Yep. Colin Kaepernick is donating and giving time to organizations in New York, Cleveland, and all over the place that are determined to take down recidivism. You guys, reducing recidivism will reduce criminal activity. That is not good for the black community. That is good for the American community to reduce recidivism. It's good for the American community, okay? All of these things, even the plane deal that you called us out on TMZ for, getting the plane supplies over to people that need them in Africa, all of these things are good. They're good. Like, they're good things. And to say, well, he doesn't know how he's been used as a pawn, that's a bunch of tinfoil hat bullshit, Jason. Like, you can't prove that Colin Kaepernick
whether he knows or doesn't know, I think that's how he's being used. Maybe he knows it, and maybe he's good with it. I don't like it. If he doesn't know, I don't like it. The things that you're talking about, again, protecting an industry that is empowering that many black men is something that I'm into. Because, again, my path in life has been through football. And I know many of my friends, their path through life has been through football. And so I'm interested in protecting that. And again, if someone were here attacking hip hop, people's heads would explode. Oh, my God, hip hop, that's our culture. Yeah, hip hop does this, hip hop does that. Don't attack hip hop.
You've already attacked hip hop. Hip hop was your first. That's how you got on.
That's not how I got on. And again, it's really not. You're laughing, and
that's how you got
insulting. That's not how I got on,
Jason.
You're 38 years old. You know how long I've been at this,
Jason.
You don't know how I got on,
Jason. I've read you for years. I knew Jason Whitlock in college when I was studying.
What year were you in college?
I was in college in the 2000. I went to college in 1998. I was when you popped up on the Don Imus thing. You're a great columnist and a fantastic writer.
That's in 2007. I got on in 1994 as a columnist.
Great. Now what I mean is popped. Like, I've been
Did you understand how I got on ESPN? It didn't have a damn thing to do with hip hop.
But I'll tell you straight up, the Don Imus situation.
Yeah, because you're a late comer.
No bullshit. The Don Imus situation.
You know my career better than I do.
I know. I'm telling you what.
You know my career better than I do. I know nothing about your career. I don't know how you got on.
But
you don't know my career better than I do.
I know your career like you know what Colin Kaepernick's motivations are better than what he does. So for me.
No. Let me say this. this. If I was sitting here talking to Colin Kaepernick,
right,
and he was explaining to me, no, Jason, X, Y, and Z, it would be a very different discussion than going through you. Mm-hmm. You're talking to me and trying to explain to me my career. Did you ever live in Kansas City?
No, but I know you wrote for them.
But I wrote for them. Did you ever live in Kansas City? I started at Kansas City Star.
Nobody was fucking with you because you wrote for the Kansas City Star. The reason, the thing that got you on Fox News, all of these other places, is when you defended, let's keep it all the way 100. The thing that got you on all of these different platforms is when Don Imus, another racist ass old school dude, came out and called a bunch of girls nappy headed hoes. You, rather than deal with the insult, you decided it was time to deal with hip hop. That's when Jason Whitlock was everywhere. I had seen you on ESPN. I had seen you all of those places. Where I hadn't seen you was on Fox and MSNBC and all of those other places. That's why I hadn't seen you. So when I say that's how you got on, I'm not talking about getting on as a general sports columnist. Shout out to everybody around the country that's doing that, because it's not a lot of black guys doing that. You got to give Jason his props. You got to give Stephen A. his props. You got to give all those people their props. Not taking anything away from you. But what I'm saying is how you got on, how your shit got elevated, that's the moment. That's your Kanye West in the newsroom moment. For sure, without a doubt. That's your Kanye West in the newsroom moment.
It's utterly preposterous.
Whatever. Moving on. So we agree to disagree.
You know my life, but Jason, you're the smartest man on the planet.
Jason. No, actually, you are, because
No. I don't know everything about you. I can't tell you everything about your career. You can tell me about mine. I actually lived and accomplished and did. You know better than I do.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Without moving the goalposts here, let's come back to that specific issue. Without moving the goalposts here, because
you can ask and answer the question. Shit, you know better than I do.
I feel you. Probably maybe I could. What I'm asking you is, and no bully pulpits here. What I'm asking you is, why in that specific moment when Don Imus, we can go back a little bit, in the moment that had nothing to do with the ascension of Jason Whitlock, why in that specific moment?
Because my mindset is what I said at the very beginning of this show. Mm-hmm. Everything is about me and about us as black people. Don Imus is irrelevant to me. Mm-hmm. I'd never really heard of him before that moment. He's irrelevant.
You were there, I hadn't either.
He's irrelevant to black people. Mm-hmm. And so to me, all this Don Imus said this and that, it had no impact on me, my family, anybody I knew.
Right.
And so everything to me is about, well, how do we feel about ourselves? How do we talk about ourselves? If it's so important what Don Imus thinks about a black person, why isn't it important what I think about a black person and what other black people think about me? Mm-hmm. That is the premise that Malcolm X and those guys live on, and that's what my father lived on. That's what my mother lived on. That's what God teaches me from the Bible. Me. Look for the God in me. Quit looking for everybody else to approve me or look out for me. How do I feel about myself? That's what's most important to the survival of black people, not what some idiot like Don Imus said. That's why I went at it that way.
Guess what? Don't have any problem with that at all. Don't have any problem with that. What I will say is, did you at all feel, when you're talking about pawns, right? You talked about pawns in terms of Colin Kaepernick, pawns in terms of LeBron. Did you feel like a pawn when places like Fox News paraded you up on all over the place as the black guy that was going to castigate and criticize black people? Wait a second, because when we're talking about being pawns and stuff like that, we're having a conversation about something that happens, and it's like, oh, here on Sean Hannity, next, Jason Whitlock to tell the niggas why they're the real problem. So do you ever feel uncomfortable in that posture?
So, Van, again, it's, I mean, I know yes you're a Jason Whitlock historian, but the number one attention I got off that column was sitting on Oprah's couch for 2 episodes talking about hip hop and how we feel about
Oprah wasn't a fan of hip hop at all then as well.
I got it.
Right.
And so Oprah is the person who, if you want to say that was me going to the next level, it was Oprah that put me on the next level.
I have tons of problems with Oprah Winfrey and the way she dealt with hip hop culture.
Let me ask you a question.
But you're not going to throw an Oprah pass out there for me to be like, okay, Oprah said it's cool. No, I have a problem with what she dealt with.
That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying you are the historian on Whitlock.
Sure.
And Oprah putting me on her show, that was the big moment. I don't ever remember, ever in my life, being on Sean Hannity's show.
Were you on Fox News?
Ever in my life. Probably. I've been on Fox News. I was on Fox News yesterday.
All right, so maybe not Hannity. So let's not split hairs. Maybe not Hannity. That was an example.
But it was Oprah that put me over the top, and that's who invited me on to represent her perspective. No, in your mind, I'm giving you you're the Whitlock historian, and that look, I can't deny going on Oprah was a big damn moment in my career. Maybe you could argue the biggest, but it was Oprah because she liked that perspective, and there was other black people that liked that perspective. I was not out there on an island, and so yes, did CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News also have me on to talk about that? Absolutely,
right. So, who are the black people that Jason Whitlock likes? Who are the ones that you support? Who are the ones that you think are doing it the right way? Forget about likes. Leave like out of it. Who are the black leaders, the thought leaders, or the community activists that Jason Whitlock was doing it the right way?
At the top of my list, I'm a huge Jim Brown guy. Jim Brown and I have been friends for a long time. Been in support of his America I Can program for a long time. I like a lot of the things LeBron James is doing in Akron and have been supportive of those things. There's some things I don't like and I'm critical of. I think in terms of black leadership, there's a major void. I think
might that be because Jason Whitlock keeps trying to cut the heads off people who come out and try to be black.
It's all me. It's all. You're right. It is. It's all me, Van. It's like
I'm saying. You're saying there's a void, and they keep trying to be people. Oh, I can name a billion people. D-Ray McKelson, Philip Agnew, Jameer Burley. I can name.
You
Tiffany,
came out with DeRay off top.
DeRay. Oh, so you don't like DeRay?
Come on, man.
You don't like DeRay?
A serious conversation.
Okay. All right, like I can name, and by the way, I can name Sean King.
He ain't even black. He ain't even black.
Sean King's not black?
Hell no.
Okay.
This ain't even a serious conversation.
So wait.
Sean King ain't black. That's how you know there's a void in our leadership is because a white dude is masquerading as a black leader, and we're going for it.
Listen. Everybody listen to this podcast. Whatever you think about Sean, you leave it up to Sean.
He's Rachel Dolan's out. He gets to decide what race he is.
No. I know Sean King. He's laughing at Sean King because Sean King is working on behalf of black people.
He's not black.
He's working. I didn't say he's working on behalf of black people. And by the way, he is. You guys, Sean will explain what's going on with Sean.
He's Rachel Dolan's out. We good with it.
So here's the situation. So there's a bunch of different people working all the time. And those are the people, to be honest with you, I agree with one thing that you said. One thing that you said is that we need to empower the people that are doing the work. I completely and totally agree with that. That's why I told you, empower the people that are doing the work on the ground. You said Jim Brown.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people of all different ages who are out there working right now and who are not getting the shine that they deserve. I talked about Jameera. I talked about Philip. I talked about Blair Imani. I talk about DeRay. You don't like DeRay.
No,
I talk about
Van, let me
talk about all of these people.
Let me say this.
These are activists that I talk to that I try to empower.
Right.
But let me make a point here. Jim Brown, back to him. Do you have any problem with Jim Brown's support of President Trump?
Man, I don't get into questioning. I'm not into politics.
So you'll question everybody else except for Jim Brown.
I'm not into politics.
So
I've never voted ever. I've been very crystal clear on this.
Right.
I'm not moved by politics or politicians.
Or you moved by policy. Because all of these things that you talk about that you care about, mass incarceration, that
I've done real journalism on, not podcasts.
By the way, Jason, I've read it.
Right.
I've read it. The real journalism that you've done on mass incarceration, I didn't just
that no one else has, that everybody else is critical of. Ain't nobody, have you done any?
Chill. Stop. Give Jason Whitlock credit for the full credit Red Pill podcast. Give Jason Whitlock credit for delving into an issue that plagues underprivileged communities. You, a couple of years ago, tweeted the link. Well, while we're not supposed to self-promote, right? You tweeted the link to that, and I read it, and it was good. And it was very insightful, and it was very deep. thought Jason Whitlock, talented guy. I'm not going to take anything away from you that you did. That's not what we were trying to do. But what I'm saying is, you're saying you don't get into politics.
No.
There are going to have to be policy decisions that are made.
I get it.
In order to curb some of these issues and change some of these issues that are in these communities. So you want to talk about people that are trying to correct them, or talk about people that are trying to do them, yet you don't have a foot in the door.
No.
Politically. What does Jason Whitlock do?
What I do journalism. I financially support the things that I believe in,
which
including,
is what?
Again, I operate completely different than everybody that goes out and broadcasts what they do.
Right.
But
so you can't tell us. I got you.
I'm not interested in it. Okay. That's not how I operate.
I feel you, dog.
And so I'm not living, again, younger people are, and I get it. Everything y'all do is to be pictured and captured on Instagram and Twitter. That's not my generation.
It's a problem. I get it.
That's not my generation.
I'm in agreement with you that's whack.
That's not my generation. So I don't operate that way.
Right.
But in terms, the other thing in terms of when you start talking about politics and politicians and leaders and blah, I try hard to stick to sports. And again, so no, I do.
That's not true. That's disingenuous.
No, it's not. I try hard because it's like if you go look at the piece I wrote about mass incarceration and the drug war and blah blah, that was all told through Jim Brown's organization, America.
Without a doubt.
Jim Brown is my connection to sports.
So then, if you can talk about Jim Brown's connection to the American situation or the mass incarceration, why can't you talk about Jim Brown's connection to President Trump?
Because I talk about and write about in journalism. I get involved in the things that I'm passionate about.
Admit that's inconsistent.
I get involved in things I'm passionate about, the things that I have insight on.
Care. First it was things that you stick to sports, and now is what you're passionate about. So you don't care about. But do you have any opinions about President Trump?
Not really.
Not at all.
Not really. I think he's silly and stupid. I think this whole he's caught up in the Twitter obsession like everybody else, and I find it ridiculous and stupid. My philosophy on Twitter from word go, I've been tweeting it since the day I joined. Judge my columns, enjoy my tweets. I think Twitter is here to dumb us down, and I think it's stupid. Because it's a necessary evil. As a person in the media, you virtually have to be involved in social media. Your boss is expected. And so, but again, it's no different. Look, I think McDonald's is stupid, but I might hit a drive-through on the way home. There's a lot of things that we all disagree with, think is stupid, that we get involved with.
Right.
You know, so I'm not unique in that. But so as I think it's silly for the president to be on Twitter. And to be doing the silly, stupid things he does.
Do you think that Donald Trump in any way, the message and sort of the edict and the energy coming out of the Trump administration,
it's too negative. I've said that. I said that on TV the other day. The reason why he gets so much negative energy is because he puts out so much negative energy. He can't. It's hard for him to stay focused on anything positive. And so
does it worry you at all that someone that you respect so much like Jim Brown is so devoted to the guy?
I don't think Jim Brown is devoted to the guy. I think that's a mischaracterization. I haven't talked to Jim about it, but the few little quotes I've seen, I don't think Jim Brown's not devoted to anything. Jim Brown is one of the most independent people I've ever known in my life.
Just because you're independent doesn't mean that you can't have devotion. No.
You guys are devoted to Kaepernick and LeBron. Jim Brown is a day-to-day person. Jim Brown, me and Jim Brown have been friends 20 years. Tomorrow, he may not like me.
Well, he's been in Trump's corner since he walked into Trump Tower. And we just did a story last week about him doing a radio interview with JT the Brick, talking about how he likes Donald Trump, talking about the fact that he knew that it would make him unpopular in the community, but he likes Donald Trump, the reasons he liked him, so he's consistent about that. Do you have any issues with the fact that he's that committed to Donald Trump?
Not really.
Okay, cool.
It's no...
So it doesn't bother you. I get it. That's fine. The Jemele, you used to work at ESPN.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Jemele Hill's entire arc and the situation at ESPN? She's leaving now. It seems as if
you're gonna have to clarify the question.
This is what I'll do. This is how I'll clarify.
Narrow it.
Jemele Hill is out at ESPN.
Yeah.
It seems like she's leaving. By the way, she's leaving ESPN. It seems like things got too hot at Jemele Hill. For Jemele Hill at ESPN when she started to make some of her political beliefs more known on the evil social media. How do you feel like the treatment of her by the public at large and by her company has been fair?
I think that it's a mistake for anybody, any adult, any person in the media to become a slave to their Twitter feed and to think that their Twitter feed is the place where they should be the most provocative and the most interesting. I think Twitter is for silliness and dumb stuff. And anybody that gets caught up in Twitter and thinking that that's the platform they should be most worried about rather than the platform that pays them $2-3 million, I think that's a recipe for death, for career. That's career suicide.
Do you think first you engage with people quite a bit on Twitter?
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Again, you're not going to find
sometimes the conversations between you and people on Twitter are very serious. Sometimes they're playing around.
Give me examples.
I mean, you were back and forth.
I have no memory of it.
When you tweeted out, when you tweeted out that Colin Kaepernick and
see, now we're in the sports lane. We're talking about Colin Kaepernick,
right?
So again,
so you can talk seriously on Twitter about. So she could talk seriously on Twitter.
There's almost virtually. I don't believe any Twitter conversation is all that serious. I don't believe any of it's all that serious.
Right,
but what I try to do is stay consistent in sports. And if I delve outside of sports, I'm really not trying to make news with my opinion outside of sports. That's a recipe for trouble. And I'm just not obsessed with my Twitter platform. When I go on TV, I'm not thinking about, how's this going to land on Twitter? I'm seeing too many journalists, media people, and other people, their entire point of view is driven by how's Twitter going to respond? And I think that's a mistake.
You don't feel like you have an audience that you play to? Are there a group of people that, I mean, I know they exist, but are there a group of people who, does Jason Whitlock not have a choir? Does not have a...
No, I don't have a choir.
You don't?
No, I don't. I think that's been one of, as we've moved into this new era of media, I think that's one of the things that I've had to adjust to, is that everybody is looking for a very small choir. No one's looking to be the independent voice that kind of irritates both sides.
You really feel like you irritate both sides?
Oh, there's without question.
What's your most problematic view to the right?
I don't believe in the Second Amendment. And I think the Second Amendment has outlived its usefulness. And I've been very outspoken.
Weird? We can't agree on anything.
Right.
Because I'm a huge Second Amendment guy.
So, again, if you don't think the NRA doesn't monitor me, you're crazy.
So you feel like the NRA is monitoring you? I'm asking you, Jason. I never knew this stuff. This is some Whitlock history that actually.
Well, it's not even history. It's public. It's just stuff that just flies over your head. I know you're a Whitlock historian,
but I missed it. I missed this.
I know, because I know you missed it.
Right.
Because again, when I went out, and it's like, me and Bill O'Reilly didn't get along because I clown suited him, and it was about the NRA and gun control and all that. But again, you're unaware because again, everybody lives in their little echo chambers and just gets the information that they already believe. They're not open to looking at, and
Jason,
you're a historian
Jason,
on me to know everything about me. But
Jason, I didn't say like really. You said that I was a historian. Like what I know. This is my problem with you. I appreciate you trying to I think the NRA is a terrible organization, even though I am a gun owner. I think that Bill O'Reilly is a blowhard. My only problem with Jason Whitlock is Jason Whitlock seems to be.
It's an uninformed opinion.
It's informed by my.
I know it's an uninformed opinion.
Jason Whitlock seems to be an attack dog that is unleashed on black athletes, that unleashed on black prominence. You had.
I spent almost the entire summer this year attacking Bill Belichick about the Malcolm Butler decision in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was I kept getting ripped by Patriots fans because day after day after day.
I'm talking about for what they do politically and socially. So let me ask you this.
You got to understand, white athletes ain't doing a lot politically and socially out in public for me to comment on.
Listen. So when I'm talking about politically and socially, like I've never accused
Well, show me the white athlete that's moved into that lane and to giving me an opportunity to comment.
You used to be very, very hard on Marty Schottenheimer. I remember that.
Yeah.
Right. So you've always held people accountable on the field. Always. Off the field, I think you only hold black people accountable.
Well, so let me explain something to you, Van.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to social issues, I'm really only concerned about us. So what J.J. Watt does and all that, I really don't have a big concern about it. It doesn't impact me. I'm like most human beings. It's just like you probably don't follow a lot of the health problems that fat people have because you're not fat.
I was once 365 pounds.
Wrong example.
I'm writing a book right now, by the way.
Wrong example.
Right, I'm just saying, so don't assume.
The guy right here doesn't have weight problems, he don't follow those issues.
You're wrong. Don't assume. Right now I'm in the middle of writing a book. Shout out to the
wrong example.
I'm just saying, so don't assume.
There's issues that white people have that you're not concerning yourself with.
Like what?
I don't know. I would imagine plenty of them.
Give me an example.
Hell, the ones that are out probably voting for Trump.
Okay,
you're not concerned with their issues.
I don't concern with those issues.
Yeah.
I'm concerned with the issues of people who can't find jobs, who can't find economic mobility, who can't find all of those things. I just don't think that Donald Trump is the answer. I'm concerned with the people that are living in the quote unquote hillbilly areas of the Appalachians.
I'm a sports writer.
I'm concerned with the fact that their kids are drinking Mountain Dew and sugary souls like crazy, developing all types of different conditions.
I'm concerned
with I'm concerned with what happens with people who are trying to legitimately achieve the American dream and empowering them to do it. I can't be overly concerned because I'm here too many hours in a day. So let me ask you one last question before I go. And this has been spirited, and you're a brave guy, and I must give you credit. You run from
brave.
Absolutely nothing. you run from absolutely nothing. I feel you. So LeBron James.
Back to LeBron.
I just want to ask you one.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, it's a podcast. What is with the worship of LeBron James?
Not worship. Respect.
It's like,
by the way, I don't like LeBron James as a basketball player. We're different. So check it out. Check it out.
That's a silly opinion.
That I don't like him as a basketball player?
Yeah, what's not to like about him is that's just a silly, harmless opinion. Because it's not even to be. I can't have a serious discussion with you about it.
By the way,
it's nothing.
If I told him that I didn't like him as a basketball player and told him why,
he wouldn't care.
You fucking out of your mind.
Wouldn't care.
All LeBron James does, LeBron James has been one of the most thin-skinned professional athletes. Has been one of the most thin-skinned professional athletes based upon what he's done on the court. In history, LeBron got smashed on at a tournament at a camp by a kid and hid the fucking tape. LeBron James definitely cares what people think about him on the court, and I've never been a LeBron James fan. What I am a fan of, because sports is entertainment, what I am a fan is of LeBron James, the man, and how he operates off the court, and how he's used his platform and his athlete privilege to impact other people. That I'm a fan of. As far as LeBron James' basketball, check the tweets. I don't really fuck with it. But the reality is that we're different. You like to, piece it up with guys, whatever. Ratchet and Ghetto is how you described the LeBron's the Shop Show.
Yep.
Now, let me tell you why I agree with the Shop Show. I've never been, I'm just be honest with you guys. I've been to a lot of barbershops. Never been to one that had a mean Cabernet. Just never been. Never been to a barbershop when I saw Maverick Carter and Maverick was swilling around a Cabernet, I was like, I don't know about the Cabernet, dog. I can never get a decent cab at a barbershop. However, do you think that words like ratchet and ghetto, when coming from a prominent black man like yourself to another black man on a show, do you feel like that language is coded in any way?
Well, I'm going to flip it, and so they were dropping MFs and N-words and all that stuff. Do you think to black people, about black people, do you think that's coded or language? Do you think that's dangerous language? Again, MF and calling each other N-words. There's y'all's generation. They think that's nothing.
I learned the N-word from my grandfather.
Yeah, I think it's something, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I learned how to eat fried chicken from my mother. It don't mean it was a good thing.
But I get it. But what I'm saying is, it's not a generational thing, and neither is fried chicken. So when you say the generation that talks like this,
no,
they call Jesse Jackson a hot mic. Obama.
It's not about talks like
right.
It's again because trust me, I occasionally use the word. I just happen to know it's reprehensible, it's stupid, it's a problem. We shouldn't be calling ourselves that. And so for me to say a show is ratchet or ghetto compared to them sitting on TV calling each other the N-words and MF this and MF that, I can live with ratchet and ghetto if they can live with the N-word and MF and each other.
Was there anything about the shop that you liked? It's a LeBron James show where they're talking about issues that he dealt with.
No, because again, I would have this right here. Trust me, what we're just doing right here, far more entertaining, far more informative, far more real than anything they showed.
Right.
This is two black men disagreeing, and for the most part, respectfully disagreeing.
Yeah.
This is healthy.
Not gonna disrespect.
This is how iron sharpens iron. You elevate my thinking, maybe I elevate yours. People get challenged. This far better than anything they did. This was a group of elites, people that ride in private planes.
You're elite.
No, I know, but I'm very self-aware about it.
So
I don't.
And by the grand scheme of things, even though I drive a Honda Cross Tour and you have a very nice watch on, I'm elite.
No question.
You know what I'm saying? So
no question.
not everybody has a television show or a podcast to do this, so it's always
they don't have to sit on air as if they're representing something that they're so far removed from. But it's been so many years. Do you understand when you show the kind of talent LeBron does in 4th and 5th grade, your world changes instantly?
I know about who he was when he was in the 7th grade. Like literally, I'd heard of him when he was in the 7th grade.
No, I get it, right. But his life. People just there's a pot of gold if we can get this dude to age 19.
Why is
his whole life is
so hard for you to believe that LeBron James came up every single day, especially when he got to St. Vincent St. Mary's, looking around going, you know what? He said it. He said, I'm here because I can play basketball. He recognizes that he's there because he can play basketball. All the other kids, that's just life for them. All the other kids, most of the other kids, not all of them, most of the other kids, that's just life. They get to go to St. Vincent St. Mary's because of the station in which they were born. LeBron James, at a young age, thinks, this doesn't seem like it's equal. Now, equality at its base level is something that we might never get to, but he goes, when I get the opportunity to make a change in that, when I get the social, the economic, maybe even the political capital to make sure that some other kid has a leg up, I'm going to do that. And he's still connected to that idea. So when you're saying that he can't relate because it hasn't been a long time.
I didn't say he can't relate.
What did you say?
What I said,
it's been a long time.
I said that was a group of elites pretending like their point of view was somehow benefiting the people, the mass of black people who are not elites. Their point of view, to me, was not benefiting the mass of black people who are not elite.
Why?
Because what the mass of people who are not elite need, more than people sitting up going, oh my God, America's unfair.
You know what they need? They need schools.
You know what they need?
They need schools.
They need
engagement, and that's what he's doing.
Great, but that's not what this show was. We're talking about the show. Now, you can't keep moving the damn goalposts.
I'm not moving the goalposts. What I'm saying is the show is one part of what he's doing.
I got it, but the show is the show. It wasn't about his school. So now we're just talking about the show.
Sure.
And if I had a show, I would have been looking for opportunities to explain or engage in conversations where people who have made it can explain to the mass of black people, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and D, here's the things you need to do in order to move ahead. Rather than just Snoop talking about every place else around the globe treats us better than America.
That's their experiences.
I get it. But again, they have other experiences, and that's not an authentic experience to Snoop because the man has enough money to live wherever the hell he wants.
Once again,
that's my opinion.
I know,
but
once again, you don't.
He ain't left yet.
You don't want anyone to assign any thoughts onto Jason Whitlock, but you don't want. But you're assigning. You're saying that Snoop Dogg is.
You
not
really believe Snoop feels like every place around the globe treats him better?
I
than
have
America.
enough respect for Snoop to believe that anything that he said is gonna be authentic. I don't want to like.
He's a damn rapper, man.
Right. So he's not on a rap song. He's speaking his heart. He ain't trying to make words rhyme. He's talking about
time around him.
I've spent a little time around him. A little time.
In a real conversation?
Oh, as real as it can get.
Go look at who he employs and see if that matches up with
as much as real as it can get when a nigga is high. All right, listen. Jason, I did not expect. I want to say one last thing. Sure.
If I was LeBron James, what I'd love to see him talk about. We spend so much time in America as black people with platforms holding a discussion about what white people can do to fix black problems. And so we've focused the last 3 or 4 years. We're what can we do to get the police to treat black people better so they quit killing black people? What can we do? How can we get them together? And so I would just like once for us to say, for people to say, let's have a seminar where we get young black boys together and teach them how to deal with each other without resorting to violence. Because there are so many young black brothers killing each other that maybe we need to have a conversation among black men about how we treat and respect each other so that some of the violence between us calms down.
Now, how many organizations, because I'm going to show you where Jason Whitlock is out of the loop. How many organizations do you want me to name right now that are doing that?
Name them.
Jason Wilson up in Detroit, the Cave of Adullam, is a transitional teaching academy for black boys where he teaches them not only self-defense, but positive conflict resolution. And it's an ongoing program. If you want to donate some of that money to it, he needs it. The Manhood Academy, all over these places, teaching black boys.
How come none of it can get none of it deserves national attention?
It gets the national attention from me, and by the way, it gets national attention from people who are invested. All of these, one thing that really irks me.
How come athletes ain't invested?
There are a bunch of athletes sort of. One thing that really irks me.
Take a knee for that, and I'll be right there with them.
One thing that really irks me, is when people say, "Why don't we have this?" How about this? Why not Jason Whitlock do some research?
I've been a long-time supporter of America I Can because that's what Jim Brown's been about.
What I'm saying is, all of these people that are doing this work, there are all kinds of people around the nation who are doing it. Philip Agnew, who I mentioned earlier, Dream Defenders Organization, down in South Florida, all different types of places. What I'm saying is, maybe since we have these platforms, we can spend a little bit less time trying to poke holes in heroes and a little bit more time trying to blow up people who are working for these things every day.
According to you, I'm pretty much the only one doing it.
Doing what?
Everybody else is just out worshiping athletes. I'm the only one poking any holes in anything.
I'm not worshiping athletes, bro. I like athletes are one thing. People that have taken social stances that I feel like benefit my community or benefit the American community. I'm just not going to break my balls to find problems with what it is that they're doing. If the money is being mismanaged, if Colin Kaepernick would not have done
much
what
money
he said,
Sean King is mismanaged and has been written about, and you out here championing him as a black leader when he's white.
Sean vehemently denies any of that stuff.
It's all been written. It's been run out of churches and everything.
So he vehemently denies any of that.
He also claims to be black.
But what I will say,
his birth certificate and baby pictures and everything else.
Every single day, y'all can listen to Jason or y'all can listen to somebody who every single day is trying to advance the narratives that help and empower black people. Me and Jason, we're gonna disagree on Sean King. A lot of people probably feel like you feel, but Sean King is a brother in arms to me. I love the dude. What I'm gonna say is, how about this?
Well,
we can all agree that people that need to have their movements heightened want and need more support from guys like us. So the way we can leave this, what I would say is, LeBron James, Colin Kaepernick, all of these people gonna continue to be my brothers. I'm gonna continue to advocate for them. But how about some of the lesser known people that are doing it? will you join me and join the other network like me with people like Charlamagne the God in empowering those people who are devoting their lives to working for social change? Will you social, economic, all different types of change?
In what way? Because keep in mind, I could do a sports show and I pretty much stick to sports. That's what I'm gonna do on TV.
Right.
I'm gonna stay in the sports lane. As it relates to Twitter, I don't take Twitter seriously.
So the answer is no.
Twitter, my TV show, my bosses want me to talk about sports. Twitter, if you look at the personality of my Twitter, it ain't about any kind of movements because I don't believe in Twitter. I think Twitter's there to confuse us.
Will you donate?
And mislead us.
Will you?
I donate plenty of money to.
So there's no way.
Causes.
So we can. So what you're essentially saying is, we have enough time to tear down what LeBron is doing socially, what Colin Kaepernick is doing socially, but not enough time to build up what other people are doing socially.
That's a misrepresentation. If you want me to donate to causes you believe in,
not causes I believe in, causes that you feel like, I'll send you a list of things that I feel like are beneficial, and you can choose, and we can do it together.
They're gonna have to. To me, they're gonna have to be. I'm gonna send them to somebody to vet them out, and we're gonna find out what these organizations are doing.
I got you.
That's the way I do any. Trust me, I'm about to.
Don't worry about it, Jason. We got it. All right, don't worry about it, Jason. We got it. Well, there you have it. There's Jason Whitlock. Listen, I said before, the red pill is not an echo chamber, and you guys can feel free to. Choose your own adventure in terms of what Mr. Whitlock had to say. We're going to get out of here, but I want to say one thing before we do. It's very important to know what people who might not have your best interests at heart are thinking. It's very important to know it because you have to understand how you tell the ones that are actually down for you apart from the ones who are not. Thought it was very important to have a conversation with someone who, like I said, claims to be for the advancement and empowerment of black people, but seems to be at cross purposes with that. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that throughout the course of the conversation, you guys got a better idea of what he thinks, of what I think, and what we all should be thinking. Peace. 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 Be thinking. Peace.